Holy cow. Look at all that snow we got. Hope the doc can make it to the cemetery on time for this week's show. Jiminy Crickets, look at this. We got like 8 inches already. Come on, man. Whew. Oh my goodness. What a mess it is out there today. Ugh. Let me tell you guys, we probably got 8 inches of snow. And it's still coming down. I can't believe how much of a mess we got going on this week. If you ain't got to go nowhere, don't, right? And everybody's in the graveyard, they ain't going nowhere, so we ain't worried about it. But, oh man, I hope the doc can make it in tonight. It's going to be one of those nights, I'll tell you. Because if he ain't in, I got to do it all. And I've been out there all day. I brushed off the headstones. I cleaned the roads up on the way to the mausoleum, right? I mean, I'm trying to do my best to make this graveyard spotless, even though we got 8 inches of snow on it. So, that's the doc. He's calling. Uh-oh. Yeah, Doc?
Hey, Matt D. Doc here. Yeah, I can't shovel quick enough, man. You're on your own for this week's cemetery cinema. Good luck. I'll get to the cemetery when I can. Okay, take care. Stay warm. Bye-bye.
Okay, bud. Stay safe. Okay. All right. Yeah, we got the plows in the back, right? The de-icers all. I've been taking care of things. You take care of things there, and you get in when you can. All right. See you, Doc. Well, there goes that. So I guess I'm doing this all by myself tonight. So, here goes. Welcome to WON Cemetery Cinema. That's Dr. He ain't here. He's stuck in the snow. But I'm the Mad Darbarian, and we're the gatekeepers of this movie showcase that brings you horror flicks from the past, the present, the future, and beyond. And we are the place to go if you like watching independent horror and sci-fi movies, right? The boss he signed a new company, right? That's going to give us their independent movies. We have a bunch of independent movies that we're trying to catch up with. The guys gave us, the directors and stuff, let us use it from last year. So, guys, we will have a ton of independent movies coming up. But we will still have our public domain, and we're still going to have some cool movies coming around when we get the contracts for, like we had Reanimator and all those movies. So, guys, we got it coming, and you're going to enjoy it. Well, the doc is stuck out in the snow. He's shoveling, right? So I got to carry the ball for the show this week. You know, and I ain't seen hide nor hair of the boss, right? We got a mess like this, right? Isn't it all hands on deck? You got to get the boss out here to... And that's him. Hey, boss, what's up this week?
Gentlemen, how are you? Yours truly, John the Reals, the boss, once again coming to you from our home base here in Brooklyn, New York City, and presenting to you another film I have dug out, The Cemetery. And this one was quite wet. It was the film entitled Alligator. I've never seen the film. I have heard about what it is about. It is pretty scary for a film from the 70s and 80s. But you be the judge yourself. It is going to be the first time I look at this film. It's well known, but I'm going to look at it for the very first time. And I'm very intrigued to see what the folks and the people who are watching will think about this film. So, gentlemen, I certainly hope you enjoy presenting it. And I certainly hope the folks who are watching it enjoy it.
Alligator? Oh my God! Alligator is an American classic. Oh my goodness. I am so happy we got this. Boss, I'll give you one of these. Doc, you don't know what you're missing. Hopefully, by the time you get here, you can come in and we can catch the end of it. All right, man. I can't wait. So what? Right. So first of all, Alligator came out in 1980. Right. So what did he say? The doc. All right. Let's see. The boss sent us a little blurb to go along with it. 1980 American independent horror film directed by Louis Teague. Right. It stars Robert Foster, Robin Riker, and Michael Gazzo. Michael Gazzo. Oh, Michael Gazzo was in every mob movie in the 70s and the 80s. Oh my God. Has an appearance by actress Sue Lyon in her last screen role. Ooh. Hope she didn't get eaten by the alligator. Right? It's set in Chicago. Good, about time. Every other movie where the world's falling apart, we got crazy ass things going on. It's been up here in New York. So good. Chicago, it's your turn, right? It follows a police officer and a reptile expert who tracks an enormous, ravenous, man eating alligator flushed down the toilet 12 years earlier. That alligator is now attacking residents after escaping from the city's sewers. Ooh, all right. So, hey, parents, this movie's rated PG. Kids can watch. It's a little scary, right? No gore, right? You'll see the alligator go after a guy, and then it goes to the next scene, right? So it's okay. So do yourself a favor, grab some popcorn, and be ready for an animal horror extravaganza. We'll be back. All right, man, we're back. Wow. You know, this was this was billed as Jaws with scales, right? So it's basically like Jaws with alligators, right? And I that pet shop guy, right? He is such a swarmy guy. And the thing is, and he's probably a nice guy in real life, but every movie he's in, he's like the swarmy guy that you kind of but then you find out he's like a troll. All right, so but all right. So what do we got here, right? So let's see what the boss said. Boss said, pet baby alligators flushed down the toilet, and trust me, that girl's heart was broken. What a mean old man that was. 12 years later, it grows to enormous size thanks to a diet of discarded laboratory dogs injected with growth hormones. Now humans have entered the menu. All right. So this was directed by Louis Teague, who found gainful employment working for Roger Corman. Oh my God. Roger Corman, the king of B movies, right? Let's see, he helped out with Death Race 2000. Death Race 2000, right? With Sly Stallone, John Carradine. Oh, what a classic movie. Thunder and Lightning, Avalanche, Avalanche, right? Cockfighter, right? And the Big Red One. Oh, the Big Red One. That's the one that has Mark Hamill in it and Lee. Oh my God, I can't think of the guy's name. Lee Marvin, right? And actually, when that came out, he was fighting that court case, Marvin versus Marvin, for palimony. Look it up. All right. Let's see. It stars Robert Foster. Now, Robert Foster, right? He's the cop. He's been in a ton of movies, right? He was in Reflections in a Golden Eye with Elizabeth Taylor and Marlon Brando. Wow. He was in Banyan, Justine, Stalking Moon, right? He was in the Black Hole, Disney Black Hole. Actually, a really good science fiction movie. Avalanche, meh, right? Alligator, right? Vigilante, Walking the Edge, Delta Force. He was in Delta Force with Chuck Norris. Wow, right? And then he started working with Quentin Tarantino. He was in Supernova. God, he was in a ton of movies. Wow. The guy's got a pedigree, all right? They have Robin Riker, the hot redhead reptile specialist. Let's see. She made her big debut in Alligator. It was her first movie. She was in Showtime's comedy Brothers. I didn't like that show. right? And then she was in Get a Life, Thunder Alley, The Gregory Hines Show. That was actually pretty good. And she was Beth Logan in The Bold and the Beautiful. Oh my God. I got forced watching that. That Lawrence Welk, right? And The Price is Right. Whenever I had to stay at my grandmother's house. And let me tell you something. When I was a young kid, right, seeing Robin Riker with that red hair, she was hot, man. Right? But then my favorite in this whole movie, right, is Michael Vincenzo Gazzo. Oh my God. He was in a ton of movies where he was like a low level mobster, right? He was in The Godfather. He was on The Waterfront, right? He was in A Fish Called Wanda, Godfather 2, Kojak, Ellery Queen, Alice, Barnaby Jones, Beretta. Oh, he was in Black Sunday, that movie. That was actually pretty good. And he was in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. All right, guys. If you ever want to go down a rabbit hole and watch a movie that's not only bad, but it's like bad, watch The Fish Named Pittsburgh. Stockard Channing was in it. That was like her big movie after um, she did Grease, right? She was Rizzo in Grease, right? But she's like a psychic, right? And Pittsburgh gets a basketball team. Pittsburgh, up to that point, never wanted a basketball team. They got a basketball team, and they called them the Pisces because Stockard Channing, right, was like an astrology person, right? Told him it was like, and she read cards, that was the perfect thing to do. And it was like Dr. J was in the movie. I can't think what else in the movie. But the funny part of the movie is they thought it'd be great for marketing that you could buy seats under the court, and the court was like translucent. You can look up, right? Now, back in the day, right, all those basketball players wore short shorts, and the only people that bought seats underneath, right, were women. Talk about a marketing strategy. That's why one another reason why the movie sucked. Unrealistic. But anyway, right? Another thing I like about this movie, right, is the music. If you're listening to the music in this movie, right, it very Jaws like, okay? And it's not the dent 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 dent, but it's sort of like that. So when the alligator is like, strolling his way through the sewer, you kind of hear like, the music, and it's like the music. It's like an anticipation music, right? And then bang, all of a sudden, right, it eats something. Whether it's the lab animal, right, a homeless guy, right, and the size of this thing, you could probably eat a Volkswagen. All right, so let's get back to the movie. Oh, they killed a kid. Why did they kill the kid? Oh my God, that's horrible. Telling you, there isn't anybody safe from this alligator, right? Now, if you grew up, right, watching movies in the 50s and 60s, right, there was always a ton of movies where an animal, like, got hit by radiation from the nuclear fallout, or, grew too big because they fed it some crazy things, right? Well, they were huge and popular all throughout the 50s and 60s, right? You had like the Killer Shrews, right? You had them with the ants, and you had Empire of the Ants, right? You had the one with the claw with the big buzzard and all that, right? So then it was a popular genre, but it never really took off like it did when Jaws came out, right? So Jaws came out in '75, and it was a book written by a guy named Peter Benchley, and the book was great. It was suspenseful, right? And I actually read the book before the movie came out because it was like the book of the year kind of thing, right? And it was great, you know. So the next year, right, they decide they're going to make a movie out of it, right? So they make this movie out of it, and literally it became like a cultural phenomenon, right? And um, by being this cultural phenomenon, people were actually like afraid to go back into the water, and all that. And that was the thing that the tagline for the movie. You'll never go back into the water after you see Jaws, right? Well, that genre, that movie took off, and then everybody said, you know what, we can make a mainstream movie, right? Um, with these animals, alligator, right? You got to figure, right? Perfect, right? Because people are afraid of alligators, okay? But they overdid it with the alligators. First of all, there was Alligator 1 and Alligator 2. Alligator 2 went right to VHS. If you remember what VHS was, it's like a little tape, right? But that's sort of like streaming, going right to video, right? And then there was Lake Placid. If you guys remember Lake Placid, right? Betty White was feeding like whole cows to this alligator, right? That lived in Lake Placid, and she had a little house right there. And they made 4 movies with Lake Placid. Talk about overkill, right? Get it? Overkill. All right. But then there was Blackwater, Robocrop, Croc, Meth Gator, Crawl, The Flood, and so many more bad alligator movies, right? And I'm telling you, right? But then they had, other movies that came out, right, that were popular about animals. There was Grizzly, there was Piranha, right? All of these other movies, right, that came out, and they same formula, right? Something happens, somebody gets killed, right? They go to look at it, people say you're crazy, right? The kid ran away, blah 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 blah. Next thing you know, more people get killed, right? I think our death count's up to like 9 now, but I know it's going to get more, right? And all those movies, that became its own little subgenre, right? Up until now, I mean, there's still movies that come out. They had Cocaine Bear came out last year, of all movies, right? It's all about these killer animals, and I'm telling you, people love those movies, right? Because one, they like to get scared, and two, they can actually picture that happening to them, right? Tarantula, another one, right? Kingdom of the Spiders, another one. All these crazy animal movies. So let's see. All right. Oh, and guess what, right? So I forgot to bring it up earlier, right? The Colonel, the alligator hunter, right? The dude that thought he was better than everybody else, right? He's played by Henry Silva. Henry Silva was the eternal bad guy from a ton of TV shows, right? He was in TV shows and he was in movies, right? He was a voice actor, right? He was in like Train to Kill, Megaforce, right? Tons of westerns. Every Irwin Allen show that came out in the 60s, we're talking Time Tunnel, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, right? All those movies, right? Right? Silva was in all of them because he was buddies with Irwin Allen, right? But he was the voice of he is the voice of Bane in the DC animated universe, right? And let me tell you, his voice is really good and it's really creepy when he does the animation stuff. So I'm looking forward to him getting chomped because, you know, always happens. They bring this guy in, right, like Craven the Hunter, right, to go out and take care of this thing, and he knows it better than everybody else. The next thing you know, conk, dead. All right. Oh, we got an email. Let's see who's this from. Oh, let's see. Oh, we got an email from a person named Wally Gator. Really? Wally Gator?
Alligator is a swinging navigator in the swamp.
From Fort Lauderdale, Florida. All right. Guys, please use your real names. All right. So, what do you call an alligator holding a compass? A navigator. What do you call an alligator always wearing a vest? An investigator. I see where this is going. What do you call an alligator wearing Crocs on his feet? A traitor. What do you call an alligator who loves watering his plants? An irrigator. Keep it up, Wally. All right. What do you call an alligator that's always stirring up trouble? An instigator. What do you call an alligator that has all the other alligators in the swamp around him? A congregator. All right. We got the alligators usually grow up to 15 feet. They usually grow just 4 of them, though. 15 feet, 4. Eh. What do you get if you put an alligator into a blender? Gatorade. All right, Wally. Thanks. We'll be back. Wow. Body count of 31. Good job, Gator. Man, you're not going to want to eat for a week. Too bad you're blown up and you're all over the street. Oh, man. I love this movie, right? This is one of those guilty pleasure movies, right? That when I'm channeling around, right, it pops up, and if you guys have like a Tubi, right, anything, you can go out and watch that all the time, anytime you want. But when it's on Cemetery Cinema, you watch it with you watch it with us first. All right, remember that. I'm watching. All right, so I'm going to give this movie 4.5 tombstones. Right? Why? Because it was entertaining, right? The actors had some good cred, right? And the music was really good, and the alligator looked real, right? The CGI on this movie was fantastic. So I'm giving it 4.5. Doc, what do you give it? I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not being fair to him, am I? All right. So, let's see what else, right? Oh, we got a letter. We got a question in the mail from Mike Cunningham of Collingdale, PA, wherever the hell that is. All right. Did you ever have a reptile as a pet? All right. Yes. I've had turtles and I've had chameleons, right? And I had one turtle. His name was Scummy because my mom did not want it in the house, right? To her, turtles are what you kill, you scoop out, and you make soup with, right? And I had to keep Scummy away from her, right? Because she used to say, the story of his name was I brought it into the house, right? And first thing she said was, "Get that scummy thing out of here," right? So what I did was I put it out back. I made a nice little setup for it, right? Right underneath the big tree, right? He had a place where he could hang out. In the wintertime, he dug himself in the ground, right? Springtime, he came out. He loved worms. He loved lettuce. He was great. And I used to tie a really like that. I would tape a really strong shoestring on him, right? It was shoestring probably was like 3.5 foot long, and if I was going somewhere, right, that I wanted to bring him, but I didn't want him to get lost, right, I'd have the little, it was like a leash for a turtle. He was a good turtle, right? May God rest his soul. But yes, I did have a reptile, and it was a turtle. I had a couple of red-eared sliders, right? They're great animals, but man, they stink. When you get a red-eared slider, they come like this big, right? They're about the size of a quarter, right? When we got rid of we got rid of the sliders, right? They were literally as big as a dinner plate, right? And they were just in a 50-gallon tank. They weren't in like this huge tank. It was a 50-gallon tank, and they got huge, right? They are now away. They're not with us anymore. It's a sin. But so that's my reptile story. But I can tell you, right, that I never knew anyone personally that had a pet alligator. But I got 2 stories. One, a friend of mine's a landlord, right? He had a house and he had a no pet rule in the house, right? Because nothing worse than when you're renting a house and they have a cat, right, or a dog, right, and then you got to fumigate the house when they leave before you bring somebody else in, right? So he goes over to the house one day. They're complaining about the heater wasn't working. So he goes in through he tells him I'm going to be over tomorrow afternoon, goes in through the basement, walks in, and they have a little kiddie pool, right, with like a 3 foot alligator. So they probably got it this big, and it was like that big, when he got over, when, he went over to look at the house, right, and scared the living crap out of him, you know. So what he did was he told the guy, no pets. And the guy said, no, it said no dogs or cats. He goes, no, the lease says no pets. I told you no dog or cat. So they ended up like getting rid of the alligator that we thought, right? And then what happened was about a year later, right? They had to go back to the guy's house to fix something else, and the alligator was back. And by this time, he was 5 foot, and he was not. He was more like a guard alligator. It was crazy. Second alligator story, right? In Philadelphia, there was a gentleman who had a alligator that was an emotional service alligator, right? Honest to God. And he would bring it everywhere. And he took it down to the stadium, and he wanted to bring it into the stadium as an emotional support animal. They let dogs in. It had that special leash and everything on it, right? And the alligator was kind of calm. It just kind of like waddled around. And they wouldn't let him in. It made all the newspapers. It was on the national news and all that, right? And what happened was, right, after he wasn't allowed to let him in, the others, like it was the baseball team. So the hockey team let him bring it in to the hockey stadium, right? And he only brought it in once because it literally scared the crap out of people, right? And the guy was like, I don't understand. Why are people scared of my alligator? Because it's a friggin' alligator, right? So eventually the guy moved and he went down south. He had it out in the yard, and it took off and went into a pond, and no one's seen it since, right? So the alligator when it was probably about like 4 foot, right? When he had it as an emotional support alligator, it was kind of, the tail was longer than anything, right? The head was kind of small, right? But then by the time this thing's lost in the pond, it's probably like 30 foot long now. So that's my second alligator story, right? I bore you? Good. All right. So let me tell you about what's coming up on WON. WON has the Pro Bowlers Tour on Saturdays, right? Ton of independent wrestling, which is great. You want to, you want to do stuff around the house when football's over, right? You pop that on, right? You can listen to all the bowling, you can listen to all the wrestling. Really good independent wrestling, right? I'm telling you, and most of those guys, I can tell you, that will be up in the AEW or WWE probably the next year. If you watch them on there, you'll be like, I knew them when, right? And every night at 8 o'clock, WN has a movie showcase, right? It's the Midnight Movie, it's Creature Features, it's Sally the Zombie Cheerleader, it's us. And every week after our show is going to be Offbeat Cinema. Offbeat Cinema is a great show. It's a show that comes out of Buffalo, New York. Basically, they show bad movies, not just horror movies, not just scary movies, science fiction movies. They show all kinds of movies that are really bad. And it's three beatniks hanging out at their coffee club, and it's funny, right? And you'll see a lot of cool commercials that they have. One's for, it's like a taco place up in Buffalo. Another one is for this like Grateful Dead head shop kind of place up there, and it's really cool. Great T-shirts. I can't wait to go to Buffalo to go see it. But Offbeat Cinema, you guys are going to love it. So when you turn in WON on Friday nights, you ain't got to turn it off until midnight. And then at midnight, the midnight movie's on, right? So you can get yourself 6 hours of good, bad movies. Gotta like that. So, guys, you want to send us emails, right? You can go and send Dr. Dredd an email, right? Or you can go look at his stuff. What you do is you go at # Dr. Dredd Reviews. He's on all the socials, right? He's on the Monster Channel every Friday at 11:40. Tune it in, right? On Mondays, he has Murder Table Monday at 5 o'clock on Facebook. And that's more like he comes out and just talks about stuff. You know what I mean? Could be movies, could be, yes, trivia, right? And he's just out there just, putting himself out there, right? And you want to see some of my stuff, right? I'm at the @ Mad Darbarian, right? I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, all the socials, right? And I do a lot of movie reviews, um, for movies that are out current, right? So I'm going to be going to see a movie called Werewolf. It's coming out pretty soon. And I'll be doing a review of that. But just about every good horror movie and, science fiction, right? I go out, I do a review of it. I'm going on like 7 years of doing it. Guys will get a kick out of it. I try to make them goofy, right? If they suck, I'll tell you. If they're good, I'll tell you. All right? So, but then if you want to get a hold of us, right, at Cemetery Cinema, we got a Facebook page. We got a Instagram page. We got a YouTube page. If you want to see what's going on, right, we put our jokes out there the day after the movie airs, right? We do a preview every week of what's coming up. And then after our show, right, on Cemetery Cinema, the Facebook page, Dr. Dredd does the obit, and then after that, I do the wake. Most of the time, we do it at 10 and 10:30. I've been doing mine a little bit on Saturdays because 10:30 is kind of late for an old man like me. Hey, and then after that, usually on Saturday or Sunday, and he's on hiatus right now, the boss, but he'll do his post-mortem. And his post-mortem is talking about the movies, but then he announces what's up and coming, right? And a lot of times we don't know till we see it on the post-mortem. All right. So do me a favor, right? Drop by, see our stuff out there, right? And watch us every week. I thank you guys for watching us out there. Last year was a tremendous year, right? We had a blast. We started in June. We made it to December. I didn't think we were going to make it past July, right? You guys are watching. Our ratings have been climbing every week, right? It's funny, if you watch it on the computer, right, you're like, oh, there's only like 50 people watching. Well, that's because most of the people are watching us on the Roku, right, and watching us on the WON network, which goes out to a lot of cable companies on public access stations, right? We're big in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Who knew? I don't even know where Fort Wayne, Indiana is. But, hey, so Warriors, take care. See you next week. For Doc, his patience. We'll talk to you later. And I got to do it. See you later, alligator.